Today is August 15th, 2014. I am interviewing Albert Hintenach at the Sharon Historical Society in Sharon, Connecticut. The interviewer is Sherry Vogt, working with Central Connecticut State University. There's no one else present. All right. Would you care to give me, please, your birth date and your full name? Could you state your full name for the camera and your birthday?
I was born James Albert Herman Hintenach in Fleming, Kentucky.
Yes. On
September the 3rd, 1915.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And where do you live now? Where do you currently reside?
In Connecticut, 300 Gay Street, Sharon, S-H-A-R-O-N.
Wonderful. All right, and so now we'll get started. Could you tell me the branch of service and how you came to choose it?
Well, I have to give you a little background first. I was working at the Glenn L. Martin Aircraft Company on one of the airplanes they were making for the government. And on this particular day, it was a nice day with the sun shining, and I didn't feel like going to work. But I heard they were asking for people for pilots, or the government was. So I went down, signed, entered, and they gave me a test and admitted me. And said, now go home and we'll give you a call. So he said, go back to work. So I went back to work, and 30 days later they called me and says, your assignment is at Montgomery, Alabama. And so you go by train.
By train? How old were you at this point?
Let's see. Well, that was...
right out of high school, maybe? Or were you finished with some advanced training? Were you about 20 years old, maybe?
Well, 1915 was when I was born, and this was 1943.
So, 18?
20, what is it, 26? 20,
Wow.
let's see. Well, anyhow. And so we wound up in Montgomery, Alabama. Because at that time it was still southern states.
Right.
And we were assigned to the Maxwell Air Force Base. And each of us was given a room, not a room, but in the barracks.
Yes. And did you go through a basic training?
Well, that's right. We went through basic training there. And they showed us what a airplane was. Also the airport and so on. And naturally this basic training was your exercise, and you'd go to school and learn all about various things that you've already been through school on. But it was, however, that's the way it was.
Right.
So then, of course, every morning you'd leave, you'd get out of the barracks, you'd get the call, and you jump out and stand in line, and you'd have to they'd teach you how to salute and all the military actions. Then they'd sing the military songs, and then you'd go walking, or whatever terminology you want to use at that time. And after you're finished, come back, go through the same routine every day.
Every day. For about how many weeks, do you think?
Oh, I'd say it was about 4 weeks.
Okay.
And at that time, now this was, we were allowed, once in a while, we were allowed to off base.
Oh.
And in the meantime, of course, my wife had came down and visited us, and that was when we were left off base. And we will visit each other. And I can remember when now we were northerners down to the south, and went into the department store there, and I got somebody touched me on the back. Turned around, and he says, "You see that sign up there?" And the sign says, "For colored." I was drinking out of the colored water fountain.
Oh, and he pointed did that out for you.
That's right.
That's right, we wouldn't have such things up here.
So, well, my wife had a difficult time getting a place to stay because she was a damn Yankee. So anyhow, then then we graduated, and they sent us over to Selma, Alabama. You ever hear of Selma?
I have. Race
Okay.
riots.
And we were just in cold storage, as they call it, until the government found or decided what they were going to do with us.
Okay.
So then we were brought back and went to primary training in Decatur, Alabama. Primary is when you get the small airplane, single engine. And that was a private airport. And we went up to, that was an experience because when we drove up to, my wife was with me, and so we drove up to because I was not the only one. Went up to Decatur, and where are we going to stay? So went to the local town, whatever you call them, and they told us there's no place to stay up here. That's odd. So anyhow, however, there is a house out on a certain area of Decatur. It's owned by two sisters, and the ladies live in Atlanta, so you'll have to call them. So consequently, since we were from the north, our friends there was also looking for a place to stay. One was from Virginia, so she had the southern accent. So she called, and she got the sisters were glad to rent the place to her. The place was a big southern home with a lot of people don't know what a southern home is like. But you walk in, there's a long hallway, winding stairway, and on the left side is your parlor. We used to call it a parlor. And then you go into the dining room, and then into the kitchen. And on the other side of the hall was another room that was a separate room, and then maybe into a bedroom. That was for the owner. And of course the kitchen of the house was the old type kitchen with the stove that you had to put wood in. So anyhow, they let us have that. So the women, and we happened to have a couple. There's a couple married. About 2 or 3 other married people were looking for a place to stay too. They were in the service. The husband was in the service. So then, fine, that was great. So then, after they settled down, then actually the men went back to the base, and they went through the regular training at the base. You'd get your government salary, shall we call it, every month, and you get your money, and after you get it from the
Quartermaster, the paymaster.
well, quartermaster is good enough. Then you had to pass through another line where you had to pay each one of them for something. And at the end, you're lucky if you had any money left.
Oh no!
However, that was it. So then of course when they gave us time off the base after once in a while, then we'd go back to the house. And the house was only a couple miles from the base, fortunately, and they give the money. Here's the money. And of course, we had a car, and we were keeping it. My wife was driving the car. So anyhow, then we continued on this until each day you'd fly certain missions, not missions, but they were
Training exercise?
training, and this was a steerman, a PT steerman, and a single engine, two wings, biplane, and a built-in ground loop, they call it.
What's that mean?
A lot of people didn't know it. Well, it was a narrow landing gear, and usually this would happen with people that men that learn how to fly this thing. That come in, then you go into a landing, and you're not used to straightening it out, and normally you have a ground loop. In other words, the plane just turn around.
Okay.
And that was when they let you get after you went through a certain amount of training. Then it was time for you to take off on your own. So, and you'd never made a landing by yourself.
Right.
You made the takeoff, so on. So, I was also one of them. And when I made a landing, sure as heck, ground looped.
Ground looped. How was it your first time up? What did it feel like to be alone and in charge?
I don't know, that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Because we'd get up, and naturally we'd fly over the area where our wives were staying, and we'd zoom down, buzz them as they call it.
Right.
But then we got a lot of training there. So this went on until you reached, you completed so many hours. It's been so long ago, I've forgotten exactly what you had to go through.
Hours or...
No, what you had to go through. Then after that, when you finally finished and you were getting ready to graduate. Now this was a civilian airport, of course. Then everybody was lined up, and you got your training. Well, what shall I say?
Like a diploma or your license, your pilot license, or certificate of training.
Yeah, let's see if we can call it that. I don't know.
Okay.
I've forgotten the terminology.
That's all right.
And then you got your orders to go to your next assignment, which is the basic training, as they call it.
Okay.
That's training in another airplane with further type of training.
Okay.
And you didn't run into the same thing of ground looping because it was had a wider landing gear. So and then of course you went into instrument training and cross country and all that part of flying.
And your basic training was where and on what kind of plane?
Basic was Decatur.
Decatur, same place. So you didn't have to move your family. That was good.
Oh yes, and then of course now the base. I'm sorry. You go. That was primary. I'm sorry. Basic was not Decatur. Basic was Walnut Ridge.
And where's that?
Arkansas.
Oh, beautiful. I love Arkansas.
And that was where we. It's getting so long. You know, it's so far
I know.
long ago. I've forgotten a lot of the details.
99 years young.
Well, it's the little details. I'd have to look at the book that we got from graduation for the particular outfit.
Do you still have the book?
Oh yes.
I'd love to see it sometime.
Oh, sorry, I should have brought it with me.
I know, that's all right. It'll give us another excuse to get together.
So anyhow, then Walnut Ridge was the let's see, the BT-13, I think it is. I'd have to look on my records. No, they're not in there. your Form 5, as they call it.
Okay.
Was your aircraft records of the airplane you flew in, the number of hours, and where you went, and so on.
Okay.
And I have all that.
Excellent.
Then, after you finish that, the number of months, after a couple of months, then you were sent to advanced. And the story I got, I don't know how true this is. There we were introduced to the twin engine. That was the AT-11 and AT-9.
Okay.
And the story we get, how true this is, I don't know. See, the company I was working for was making the B-26 at that time. And I understood from the grapevine that the AT-9 will simulate some of the characteristics of the B-26. Well, yeah. So I selected, that was one of the planes I selected to fly.
Okay.
But then we finally graduated, and at Blytheville, Arkansas. See, Walnut Ridge was for the BT-13. Blytheville was the advanced with AT-11 and AT-9. And incidentally, you ever been to not Walnut Ridge? Yeah, Walnut Ridge.
No, I've been to Cherokee Village in the Ozarks, and
well, Walnut Ridge was a when we first went there, we drove in, and I think when I think about this was quite an experience, because there was a hotel there, so we checked in at the hotel. But it was just like, it reminded me of some of these Western movies we used to see. A guy walks in these Western towns with two guns on his hip into a barber shop, and if you want a bath, you can go on the back end. You've seen those movies.
Right.
This is what it reminded me of.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Walnut Ridge. Well, Walnut Ridge was I understand, it was an original piece of land that was a lot of swamp. So we were told, now, you don't go off the runway, because if you go off the runway, you'll sink into the mud. That is the airplane. So I remember that, and that's, of course, it's a funny thing. Later on, after the war, a lot of the B-24s, well, that's where they put them.
Cold storage out there?
That's right. Of course, we didn't know what plane we were going to get at that time. So finally, from Walnut Ridge to Blytheville, or Blytheville is where we were graduated from. And of course, our wives went with us and rented a place. And all the wives got pregnant.
Imagine that.
They celebrated. Well, that was good. They celebrated their commission.
That's right. That's right.
I know. This is a lot of this is a. I don't know what to talk, but that's what happened.
Wonderful.
So anyhow, then when we got reassigned, and reassignment was Salt Lake City.
Oh.
Well, what the heck's up at Salt Lake City? So we drove up, and all it was just a reassignment center. We checked in. Incidentally, before we checked in, we had to stop, and that was where I was almost arrested for crossing the street.
Oh no!
Pedestrians.
Crime.
Oh, pedestrians. That's right. You cross at this cross spot. That's it.
That's it.
Did we do that down here?
I tried.
So anyhow, then so we drove down to. We were driving, and we went through the various parks down into assignment at Tucson, Arizona. And we got down there, and there was this big plane we were assigned to fly. And then, of course, when I first saw it, I was wondering, how could you fly this thing? You see all the instruments, four engine, of course. And you had to see all these instruments on the dash. How do you fly this plane?
Oh, no.
So we found out.
Yes.
And then of course, and hot. Oh, Tucson is hot, very hot. And I think one place we got to stay was out in the desert somewhere.
Goodness.
So anyhow, it was quite an experience because we flew all hours. Mm-hmm. At night we would fly at nighttime to do some night bombing. Mm-hmm. In Alamogordo and those places. That was part of our targets.
Wow. Now you were flying a B. What? You didn't say the call number. What exactly were you flying?
Well, the plane, of course, at that time we.
What's that?
Oh no.
Okay.
So we weren't assigned any plane at that time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In fact, we weren't assigned to any plane.
Okay.
I was I don't know what you would say, lucky or whatever. I was when at Tucson we had so many missions to complete for bombing missions and mm-hmm. nighttime, mm-hmm. daytime, mm-hmm. gunnery missions, and so on.
Right.
And then we were assigned a crew. One day we were told, here's your crews. Mm-hmm. Okay. But that was it, and you continue to fly. And then finally they formed a group that was going overseas, first group, and this did not materialize. So they were assigned us to another group, Pomeroy Provisional Group, they called it. And we were ordered to go to El Paso to finish our training, continue training, mm-hmm. High altitude, bombing at night, and so on. So about a week after we landed at El Paso, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, I got a call from the commander, and he says, I'm sorry, he says, you got to go back to Tucson. What for? He says, you didn't complete your training. So, okay, myself and my crew got on a train, went back to Tucson, checked in at the air base. Mm-hmm. And they said, what are you doing back here? We're back here to complete our trainings. He says, they said we weren't finished. And the guy looked at me and says, what are you talking about? He says, you completed your training. So, okay, well, all right, now they got another pilot. So that's all we did for a while. It's just they were used to set me as a pilot mm-hmm. for other people, which we flew over the Grand Canyon and so on.
Oh, wow.
Took off and landed mm-hmm. for other people, other pilots. Mm-hmm. And then finally, in the meantime, they also sent us to Selma, California. Selma, I think that's the name of it. No. It's so we stayed there in cold storage, they call it, mm-hmm. playing whatever to keep us busy. Mm-hmm. And then finally they reassigned us. We got reassigned. My wife was with me at the time, but on my reassignment orders to Grand Island, Nebraska, naturally she was not on there. Oh. So she had to come east on her own. And it was on one of the stations on the way back, our train had to stop. I don't know what for, but it stopped in the siding. And this other train came on the siding. There was my wife.
Oh my gosh.
How about that?
That's amazing. What a miracle.
Of course, it was only, hi, how are you?
Right.
Goodbye.
Had she had the baby yet? Was she still expecting?
Yes, she had her baby, yes.
Okay.
And, but she wasn't the baby wasn't with her.
Okay.
I was with her mother.
Okay.
mother and father. See, she came from Dundalk, Maryland, where the Fort Holabird was. But anyhow, so this continued, and we landed at Grand Island. And Grand Island was another we'd never been there before. So what do? They put us in cold storage there, and we did nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Waiting for a reassignment. And so finally, we got off the base once in a while, going to the hotel where my wife was. Of course, the funny thing, this has nothing to do with it, but it's some little things that people don't know about it. It's really amusing. As we leave the base, the doctor would be right there. He'd give us all a prophylactic kit.
Oh, right.
And so a lot of the guys said, I don't want that stuff. I'm married. The doctor said, you take it. Married or not.
There you go.
So we go back to so we go and check in at the hotel, put it on the bureau. There we go. We're safe.
Not if it stays on the bureau.
Well, see, there was a lot of this going on, and a lot of sickness coming on because of it. So anyhow, then for a while, we were there for, I guess, a couple of weeks, maybe. I'd have to look at my orders to find out. Then we were reassigned down to Camp Patrick Henry.
And where is that?
Virginia. Hampton Roads, I think, is the closest thing I can think about. Our whole group for reassignment overseas. In other words, we were 40 crews of about 11 people per crew. So you get to thinking, that's a hell of a lot of people. So that we didn't get any planes. We didn't go pick up a plane. We were assigned as a group overseas. Where? Casablanca.
Really?
That's right.
Wow.
And we traveled on a British tour ship that had been converted to a troop ship.
Oh.
And because it cruised faster than a submarine, so they figured the German submarines couldn't catch us. We had no protection. In other words, nobody going along with us.
No battleship next door. No.
No. And it took 7 days from to Casablanca.
Wow.
But we didn't see, was it Humphrey?
Humphrey Bogart? You didn't see him? He wasn't there playing a piano for you?
No. And but it was interesting, and of course there were so many of us. Where were they going to put us? They put us in what a place we call Tent City outside of Casablanca,
Right.
because the air base didn't have enough room for us. That's the story I heard anyhow. So one night they were called in by the security people, the major there, and he says, "Now tomorrow," he says, two officers who will go into Casablanca, and you just walk the city and see that all the airmen, so on, are being polite, looked and dressed properly, and so on. And so, well, fine, we did. We thought, heck, we can see the town then. Well, naturally, we didn't enforce what the directions were. So the next day, the major called us in. He says, "You guys didn't bring any tickets." "No, that's right." He said, "All right." He said, "Heck," he says, "my sergeant and I went out, and for 20 minutes we had so many tickets." So he says, "You go back in there," and says, "You better bring some tickets or you couldn't go back again." So this is a little story, of course. And so we went back into Casablanca, and always two officers traveling together. And so we were walking along, and we happened to see this enlisted man on the other side of the street. And we said, "Well, we'll wait. If he looks at us and salutes us, fine. If he doesn't salute him, we'll stop him." So he didn't salute us. So we stopped him, and he was pretty badly dressed, disarranged and so on, because he had just left his girlfriend.
Right.
And so we took him and we arrested him, took his pass and so on. And it seemed like he had been his pass was outdated and so on. Anyhow, we did our job.
Good.
And turned it into the APs. Then we went back to our base, and next day we got our orders for assignment. I think it was Algiers. Well, then we checked in at Algiers.
Right.
Well, or should I say we went through Algiers.
Oh, no.
Anyhow, that's where I learned that, well, we passed the Bear Espen, a big place that they had. And also you can get bathed and so on. Well, anyhow, it was, then the next day we got our assignment to Italy. And we landed in Italy at Manduria, and the wing headquarters. We didn't know where we were going. Then each crew got an assignment. And my crew, so were assigned to the 376th. The 376 was the first bomb group into Italy, and they evidently had just landed there. This was in 1944. Of course, you've got to know the history. That before that, you see, they had a big low-level air raid, and they had lost a lot of over Ploesti, and they had lost a lot of people. So consequently, I even think about we must have been some replacement crews for them. And so we were lucky. The Germans had just left the airport, and so consequently, we had my squadron, the squadron I was assigned to, happened to get some quarters in one of the barracks. So we were covered. Some of the other troops lived in tents. That's about, and then we continued to do our training. That's about it. The missions and so on. And this is the book.
Wow. Would you like to talk about any of the missions?
Well, how can I say it? I would say routine. No mission was routine, but they were all the same thing.
Well, what did you do? You would get your target, and so you would get a target assigned to you?
Oh, not as an individual, no.
No, like a factory maybe, or a maybe.
Oh yes. And see, I've and one of the men compiled this book.
Oh, okay. Would you like to hold it up so I can see the cover? I'll just show the camera the cover and maybe read us the title. It's written by James W. Walker.
That's right. This one.
The Liberandos.
They call it the Liberandos because, see, they originated.
The World War II history of the 376th Heavy Bombardment Group.
That's correct.
And its founding units. It's amazing.
They originated in Benghazi, North Italy, North Africa.
Okay.
And they did their training there. Of course, not under the name of 376th.
Okay.
For this low-level raid that they performed in the latter part of 1943, maybe 42. And see, I was not with them, so I really don't know much of the story.
Right. But when you did get there, and now you had, what kind of plane did you fly? You flew a bomber, what?
B-24.
B-24.
And
with your crew.
Initially it was a D model. And then we got an H model into the group, and none of the crew wanted it.
How come?
Well, and I was wondering why. Because it's too heavy, and so on. Because the B-24H was well equipped with a nose turret, a tail turret, a belly turret, and a top turret. And also, these were flexible. In other words, they weren't fixed. You rotate.
Right, you could rotate the...
So, and then not only that, the pilot was, they had a, I don't know how to explain it. Nobody knows it either. There was in back, there was a 5/16 metal and to protect the pilot in the back. So I said, I'll take it because that's heavily armed.
Right.
And that's the way, and we caught, and then of course we did, and we got to the point where every mission we had, we came back. We didn't have any failure or mechanical failure of any kind, and so we named it after the ground crewman, Harry. I've forgotten his last name.
That's
And we called it Round Trip Harry.
Round Trip Harry, I love it. That's amazing. How many missions on Round Trip Harry did you have?
Well, for me, we it was 50. Of course, when we landed there at the group, see, we were told you fly your 50 missions.
Okay.
Says, and then you are giving you'll be given leave and you go home, but you come back after your 30-day leave.
Okay.
And I make a point of this because this did not happen on the 8th Air Force. The 8th was different. And so, fine. Which, that's the way it worked with me. After and a lot of the guys, when it got up to the, close to the 40th mission,
Didn't make it.
some of the men, they freaked out.
Right.
Because you didn't know from one mission to the other what was going to happen.
Right.
Of course, you were briefed on any aircraft around the target. Some of the instruction was good, some of it was bad.
Did you go out as a fighter group, or did you go out as a solo aircraft to bomb?
No, we were always in a group.
Always in a group.
No, I know there's some of our men did go out singly. I didn't.
You didn't.
I was not. Well,
Right.
you did what you're supposed to do.
Amen. You do what you're told.
That's
So
right.
how long would it take to fly out to a target? Were your targets, and were they at night primarily or during the day?
No, never paid too much attention to that. It was a mission.
Right.
It started out early in the morning.
Okay.
It was and in the evening, and most of the time it was we had daylight hours.
Okay.
But sometimes it would be dark. So what?
Right.
That was all part of it. So it didn't bother me. Now I can't speak for anybody else.
Right.
So however, on some of the missions that we came, see, most of our missions were, well, see the book will show you that where they went up northern Italy, southern Italy, Budapest, Romania, Austria, and Germany, southern part of Germany. A lot of places you've never heard of, even Vienna.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Munich was my last mission,
Was it?
and I keep remembering that when we were briefed for it, the security people told us, he said that there's heavily anti-aircraft all around it, except one particular section is not as many, so it's a little lighter.
Okay.
Anti-aircraft is a little lighter. So my wingmate, I asked him, I said, look, I said, when I get up, and I was leading the particular formation at that time, and I told him, I said, when I get up there, when we drop our bombs, I'm leaving that place fast. I said, I'm going to drop down to altitude, and I make a 90-degree turn off. Can you follow me? He says, yes. He says, I'll follow you. And see, we were taught, which they didn't teach us in the States, tight formation. So we used to, myself and this other guy, we used to try to fly as tight a formation as possible.
Okay.
And you think about it, see, the Germans, if they had seen a plane out, that's it, they would attack it. But if you got a tight formation, don't forget, there's a hell of a lot of lead coming out of there. And so they would avoid that as much as possible. So anyhow, it worked that way. Worked fine. And it worked just exactly like I said. When we dropped our bombs, 90-degree off.
Got the hell out of there. Got home.
All right.
Oh, that's great.
So.
Did you ever have to did you ever have to land before the return was scheduled? Did you ever have to come down where you didn't schedule to come down? You made it back, but I mean, was it ever, oh, we're not going to make it all the way back to where we need to land somewhere else?
Well, I'm thinking about now what you mentioned, and I can't think of any mission where we didn't complete. However, on some of them, you would see. We flew. It was our air base was on the western side of. It was in the heel of the Italy. And the Adriatic was on one side and land was on the other. So I can truthfully say that we always returned, and I don't recall where I was alone, because usually I was maybe some of the other person we were helping him down. Or flying down, but outside of that, to answer your question, no.
Great.
I was lucky.
You were. What? So round trip Harry made it back all 50 times. Is there any one mission that you consider most important or most noteworthy for a reason you'd like to disclose, or were they all equally executed and important?
I guess that's the way to put it, because as a pilot, you're the one that's flying that plane. Yes, your co-pilot too is helping you, if he's good. I can remember, just to sidetrack a little bit, we were on one of our missions. My waist gunner was a radio man, I think it was hollering about one of the planes in our formation. Evidently, the plane was getting too close to us. So finally, I told him, I said, "Keep your mouth shut and let us fly the plane." And then I got on the transmitter and I called this plane. And I told him, I said, "You're not." Well, I criticized him. And the voice came back and he says, "Yes, that's my co-pilot. He not fly good." It was the Yugoslavian team.
Oh.
See, we had a group of Yugoslavians flying with us, and they didn't have that much training in formation flying. In fact, see, formation flying back in the States, they were taught. This one pilot we got, one crew we got in there from the training command. They were taught you fly 50 feet back, 50 feet out. All right, that's quite a space. So when you get overseas then and you fly on your mission, get close, as close as possible. So close you could almost go from one wing to the other.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And actually it's not difficult to fly that way.
Okay.
Well, you see your Blue Angels.
Yes.
Well, and they're close.
Yes.
Well, you got to remember, when you're flying that close, anytime there's a little change, you'll see it immediately, and you change too.
Right.
But if you're flying out, you don't see that change right away.
Good point.
So consequently, with the formation flying, this is the way it worked, and I had no problem.
Wonderful.
No.
Wonderful.
Well, of course, we lost engine, but no problem.
Came back anyway. Round trip Harry.
Oh, you see, it never bothered me because the B-24, I like the B-24. It was, if you lost an engine from shrapnel, okay, you just feather it. You stop it, feather the engine, and call your co-pilot, take care of it. If you had a good co-pilot, he automatically would do this. So so you had the other three engines,
Right.
no problem, you just increase the power. And there was a lot of information. Don't forget, they were training the pilots back in the States, and they needed pilots right away. So consequently, they really didn't get a lot of good training.
Right.
I was lucky because they sent me back from El Paso because they said I hadn't finished.
Right.
I was lucky I got more hours to plane. A lot of people say, well, it was always blowing up. Well, I was always blowing up. Come on. You see, when we were ready to take off, they'd always fill your gas tanks, and they were overflowing. In fact, to the extent that the fuel would run down the main spar into the belly tank, or the belly. And when you turned on when you close your tank, bomb doors, there was a relay in the belly that would activate and it'd create a spark. Well, we got the fumes there and they explode. Of course, you learned that the hard way.
Yes. Unfortunately. Holy cow.
So and I knew that. But and of course another thing, the GIs. Well, everybody used to party quite a bit and drink, and some of them would fly the next day with a hangover.
Oh my goodness.
Now, one of the biggest cures for hangover is oxygen. Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I did not know.
Oh, yes. And so when we'd be flying, I'd see the oxygen gauge going down. So hey, call back. I'd get on the intercom and call back. Get off that, because of course we had the individual containers also.
Yes.
But
Isn't that funny?
they learned the hard way.
Yes.
But outside of that, no. And I think of one decision I had to make. Coming back from Casablanca, we had to bomb the Marine or something like that. And on the way back, we were flying at altitude. One of my crewmen called up. He says his ears hurt. So very bad. What are you going to do? We were at altitude, so consequently I said, if I leave, I said, we're 11 people here. Now, if I leave the formation, all these 11 people will be at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you, just because of you?
Right.
So what are you going to do? I said, you're going to have to hang and stay with it.
That's right.
I couldn't leave the formation. And then of course, he had to suffer the pain.
Right.
Which he did. I don't know whether they held it against me or not. But heck, you don't want to fly with a hangover.
No, you don't want to do that. Good tip. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, have you ever returned to Europe to enjoy some of the places that you visited?
They're all dying off.
Yeah. Have you been back to any of the places, though? Have you returned to any of the locations that you flew over? Have you been back to visit?
Now that you mention it, I'm thinking of, let's see. I never bombed Vicenza, but that's in Italy. Mm-hmm. But we've been there. Mm-hmm. And Anzio, we have a military base there. But those places we never bombed. Mm-hmm. Now that you mention it, the only place we've been to, we made a trip back to the air base, mm-hmm. San Pancrazio. But my wife and I made a trip over Italy. We rented a car up at Brindisi. Mm-hmm. That's a little north. Mm-hmm. And drove down to try to find San Pancrazio. So we drove to a little town. I asked somebody sitting on a booth or wherever, mm-hmm. and I said, "Where's the air base?" He said, "Oh, it's up at Brindisi." No, not that. And so the only people that knew the base were the older people.
Right.
So we finally found it, and I've got a CD on that I made.
Nice.
Of the only thing left is the runway.
It's the runway. Wow.
That's all. Where the barracks and so on.
Mm. Took it all down. Didn't need it anymore.
And it's a funny thing, because just before I left, we had just finished building the officers' club.
Oh, sure.
And we thought it would still be there. Yeah. Everything's gone. The only thing left is the olive groves. And of course, the sheep.
Yes.
On the runway that you'd have to chase off.
Right.
The little towns are still there,
mm-hmm.
doing the same thing that they always did for
Right.
centuries.
For centuries, yes. Where were you when, can you share with me where you were when the war ended? Or at the 50th mission and then you completed it and you went home for 30 days and came back? What your next?
They changed the orders. I'm supposed to be only for 30 days.
Right.
But they changed. I landed in Atlantic City just in time for the hurricane.
Oh, no.
And then they changed the whole orders, reassigned everybody.
Okay.
They reassigned me to Texas. Not Selma, but the place where we were assigned there to learn how to fly on instruments.
Oh. So you'd be up high.
Right near Texas A&M.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Are you familiar with that area?
I have not been to Texas yet, no.
No. It's everything's changed. It's a little town, heck, right, as I said, next to outside of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. We used to eat lunch over there once in a while, mm-hmm. because I took the family with me, and my daughter and so on. Mm-hmm. And I was stationed then at, while I was learning how to fly instruments.
And learning to fly by instruments meant that you would be doing what? What was your next? Why would they?
Well, don't forget, your assignments are not necessarily flying. It could be, mm-hmm. but you go wherever you're assigned to go. In this case, I was assigned as still on B-24. We ended up in, let's see, that was, outside of Nashville. There was an air base there. And we were sent there and to train in instruction in flying a B-24. And we did our training and waited for a reassignment. And at that time, they came up with a change of assignment in this respect, that they needed. Well, no, they sent me to Chandler, Arizona. And that was for the new B-24 came out. So we landed there, and we were there for a couple of weeks. And then they came out and said, "Oh, you're up for discharge. See, your points and so on."
Right.
I said, "Well, I wasn't ready to go." He says, "You're going." So we come right on back to the east here, and was discharged from air base. Oh, is it?
Hanscom Air Base up in New Hampshire?
No, that's in Boston. No, this was right there at Fort Bliss. No, not Bliss. Big? No.
Fort Devens, Massachusetts?
No, that's northeast.
Yeah.
No, it's in right outside of Atlantic City, somewhere in that area. I've forgotten.
Right, McGuire Air Force Base is down there, but that's the only one I know by name.
No, I know where McGuire is.
Right.
So anyhow, this.
Do you remember the date? Was it close to the end of the war? So you were stateside for the end of the...
Well, see, when you're commissioned, there are two types. You are commissioned as in the Army of the United States, or in this case, as a reserve. You automatically go to the reserve, and so in effect you just revert to the reserve category. So and then what do you do? Well, at that time they revert to the reserve. You go back to the reserve, and then you serve as a reservist. Various things that they do now to keep current, but you have to get a civilian job.
Right. Did you return to the company that was building aircraft that you had originally?
That's right.
Wow.
Oh, they were glad to see us.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, my boss was the vice president now of the company. So what is he? He says, "Oh, glad to see you. Glad to see you." Good. He says, "Come on over. I'll introduce you to the personnel manager." So we come over. I met the personnel manager, who I knew was a clerk before I got in the service.
Wow.
So then they gave you a job.
And
Pushing a pencil.
oh, I'm so sorry.
And here I am with a wife, 2 kids, even a dog. And so, what are you going to do? Well, you have no choice, so you might as well take it.
Right.
And the amount of money they pay you.
Do you remember what your salary was, what it was?
Sure, 40 cents an hour. And we did 40 hours a week.
Okay. Wow.
You got to think, oh my God. So, what are you going to do?
That's right.
What are you going to do?
Hope that you get reactivated out of the reserves and
Well,
back in the saddle.
I used to go every Friday. I'd go over to the personnel department in Washington, and as he says, "We're not hiring, we're firing."
Oh, too bad.
So you live with it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, of course, I was still flying, maintaining my flying status out of, I'd go to Andrews at Washington and fly whatever was available there, keep on flying. And then one day, they told me that they had moved the outfit up to, I forgot the name of the military, rather it was the Army base right outside of Baltimore, northeast of Baltimore. Are you familiar with Army?
Like Aberdeen Proving Grounds is in
Who?
Aberdeen Proving Grounds is in Baltimore area.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyhow, so we were flying there. And it was only 5 days a week. Then notice come on the board. They wanted officers, not necessarily pilots. Don't forget, they weren't flying. You're flying. Mandatory flying status gone. Although that was your major number, though, especially, but still as a pilot. So okay, so they notice came on the bulletin board. They needed people to forecast.
Oh.
Okay, fine, I'll do it. So applied for it, and got it, and I was assigned to back in the service. Assigned to a fort. I forgot the name of it, over south of Chicago. And that's where I went. That was it. And of course, you went through your training and became a forecaster. And you were assigned then as a forecaster at one of the bases.
And your family got to go with you?
Oh yes, of course.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they travel around. And then they came up with another assignment they wanted, because we were afraid that they were decreasing the military like they're doing it, decreasing now.
Right.
So there was an assignment for people to maintain the weather equipment. And so I applied for that. I got that. And I had to go to school down in Florida. Then after that, you got assigned. And the assignment was over in Japan.
Really? How amazing.
And the family went with us when I got assignment over there.
Do you remember what year that was?
Well, actually, it was not. It was in first assignment was Korea, and yes, it was 50 in the 50s.
Okay.
And then from that, you after a year in Korea, then you went to Japan. We were there for the rest of for about 4 years.
Wow.
That was during the occupation. When in those days, when you hit Japan, the woman walked in the back of her husband a couple paces.
Oh my.
She didn't say a word.
No?
Never. Only if she was spoken to, then she could answer. But otherwise, she did not jump in on him and interrupt in any conversation. And she carried everything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. What did your wife think of that?
Well,
No comment?
no comment. Well, anyhow, that and I was after, and of course, this was after coming back from Korea. Of course, she wasn't allowed there. Korea was a year, and then when they authorized her over here, I was stationed at down in the southern part of Japan, the island of Kyushu, and she came in. We were stationed there for a while, and then we moved up into Fukuoka, rather not Fukuoka, to Nagoya. You ever hear of that?
No.
You don't, never heard of
Nagoya.
it. So we ended up being over there for 5 years. Of course, in the meantime, I was still flying. See, I was a pilot, you keep up your flying status, and if you don't, you lose your pay and everything else. So that went on for about 5 years. Then it got signed back to the States.
So you were stationed in Japan during the Korean conflict, the Korean War?
I was in the Korean War.
And
Just after we took over, Seoul.
okay. And you flew missions? No, you were down, but just maintaining your flight status, your pilot status.
That's all.
Gotcha.
No, that was that. Of course, that was your responsibility to do it. You had to do that.
Yes. And in all, how many years did you spend in the military then? Have you retired with?
Well, everybody got spread out. It was very interesting. Let's say not interesting, but unusual, because when I was after I retired up here, one of the wives over at Noble Horizon, her name was Beers, B-I-E-R-S, and her husband was the squadron commander there. I didn't know that.
Oh.
Didn't meet him, but he kept quiet. Yeah, of the group. It's out of Sanpan. But outside of that, no, very few people don't see them.
No.
No.
Did you, when you said there were 11 of you on your flight team, did you keep up with them after the war for a little while, or?
Just for a little while.
For a little while, get busy.
One of my gunners was from the woods down in Tennessee, I think.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah. Oh well. No.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I will. This is great. Please, take your time.
Really surprised me what he turned out to be. Oh, there are the pictures.
There they are.
How about that? I guess what's in there. Well, anyhow, it turned out that he had went into, he became a minister.
Oh.
In the meantime, of course, he was a drinker.
Uh-huh.
And
That's right. Using the oxygen when he was up flying.
yep. In fact, a lot of the men were. I never got into that because I did it once and I had to fly with a hangover. No more. No more.
Smart choice.
I thought I had his photo, the crew book here. Huh. Guess I didn't. See, we got all the way. So anyhow, as I say, I found out he was a minister. The others I don't hear from. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah. Well, people get busy raising their families, right?
Yeah, my bombardier, he's in Oklahoma. He came once to a reunion. I didn't recognize him. He had a long beard and stuff. That was
fun.
it.
When you got out of the service, did you join the VFW or the American Legion or no?
No, I know. It's why not?
Well, it's
I
up to
don't-
you.
Yeah, because it mostly very few Air Force. Mostly up in this neck of the woods are all mostly Marines or other from the Navy.
I'm
And
going to hold up that picture of that plane that's right there. This picture. Is that your plane?
where?
This loose picture that's not... Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to lift up the camera so we can take a gander at it.
That's not a good picture.
Wow. So that's Harry, round trip Harry, right there. Amazing. Thank you for holding that up for me.
So they see most of these airplanes, they jump. There was 116,000 made, as far as roughly.
Wow.
I know. And you don't find too many. I think there's two going. There's one flying now. They've rebuilt, and a B-17 that they've rebuilt. No, here's my group.
Okay. You hold it up. I'll bring the camera in.
If you want to see it.
I do. Okay, so the top picture and then the bottom picture. Okay, we're going to...
No, there's not the top one.
Okay, so the
sec-
bottom one.
Yeah, the bottom one. If you want.
Your group. Oh, yes. And which one are you? Are you standing in the back?
You
Let's
can't.
see, standing.
You
There
can't-
you are.
You can't identify me.
I'm reading it right now. You're standing. You're to the left. It's the pilot. And then Basil Romans was your co-pilot, and Warren Little,
That's right.
and Dave Frankie,
Cool.
and kneeling we have Harry Wilkinson,
That's right.
and Henry Gaskell,
Yeah.
and Patrick McHugh,
Yeah.
and Robert Metcalf,
That's correct.
Chaz Norris, and Joseph Morency. What's the ball turret? Wow, that is amazing. Wow. Well, maybe you'll let me photocopy that before I go.
Oh, sure.
Wonderful. And that handsome guy back there, pilot. Oh, wow.
I never cared for the garrison cap, as you call it,
Yes, no,
with the bill.
right.
It's a pain in the neck to carry it around.
Yes,
I used to like the other kind of cap.
Yes.
That had a name for it.
yes, the flat one. The other, yes.
That's right. And here's the number of missions that I flew. Ever see them? I don't know what it'll be. You can have it if you want.
Well, I'm going to definitely photocopy it for the Library of Congress. And let's see. Ooh, wow, here's all the Anzio Beachhead and Regensburg, Germany, and Prato, Italy. Wow. Several in Austria, lots in Italy, Genoa, and Munich, Germany. There you are, your last one. Wow. Yes, I definitely will.
Is this
take
any
that.
better? Is this
Are they the same?
which one? Which one? About the same. But you make your choice.
Oh, okay. Well, I will photocopy both of them and include both if you'll let me with the picture.
Sure.
Wonderful. Now, on the back page of the book, you have taped in, are those your military awards? Is that a picture of your military awards that you have on that last page? I think they're taped in color.
Well, you can call them awards if you want.
Your military decorations. Let's see. If you want to hold the book up, I'll just zoom in on it.
Yeah. The only thing I think that should, well, the interpretation of a wing. When you first get the commission on it, you don't get any of this.
Okay.
You get the shield and so on.
Okay.
Then after you get about 10 missions, or 10 years, they,
Yeah, that's great.
you become what they call a senior pilot. And then they put a ring around it.
Mm-hmm.
After a number of years, you're a command pilot.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Zooming in on it, and then I'm going to come back out. Wow. Thank you.
So,
What an amazing life you've had.
well,
Did you ever want to become a teacher and teach? Were you hoping to be selected? No, you just wanted to.
well, I got the offer,
Uh-huh.
but I thought, no way.
No, you didn't do that. And how about flying civilian flights? Did you ever think of getting a job with an American airline, TWA kind of?
American Airlines.
Yeah, not your thing.
Well, American Airlines, I'm very disappointed in them.
Oh.
I wanted to, the first time I was gotten out, and I went back to work at the aircraft company. The way they operate, unbelievable. Our company got the contract to, you see, during the Cold War, all these C-47s, the three engine or four engine that supplied, that delivered supplies to Germany at that time. They had to be cleaned up inside now because they put coal in there and so on. So our company got a contract to do that. So here I am with four-engine training and so on. So I went to the test pilot, and this big fat guy come out of from the desk. Good God! So anyhow, he said, "No, we don't need you." Okay. So I was working in another department. So what happens? They go outside and hire pilots, four-engine pilots. They had to train.
Right.
That's the thinking.
Oh.
So anyhow, what do you do? And then in Baltimore, they were going to originate an airline from Baltimore to Eastern Shore, Maryland. So I applied for it, and I gave them my resume and so on. They said, "No, we can't hire you." I said, "Why? What's wrong?" So if we have to hire you, we've got to pay you more money because of my background.
Right, your experience.
So here I am with over 1,000 hours flying, F4 engine and so on, and instrument training. So then they started another airline, and they hired me. They used C-47s, or not C-47, yeah, C-47 planes. We call them C-47. They were DC-3s
Okay.
that they had bought from Canada. So great, they hired me. And then a couple months later, they called me and said, "Sorry, we sold the planes."
Oh.
So bye-bye.
Oh.
Of course, they had paid me for the two.
Oh.
So
Oh my.
that's how it works.
Right. So what did you do after you retired then? You retired from your military training and all of your
No, I went to
missions and
I got back into the aerospace. I ended up working at. You ever heard of Fairchild Republic?
I have not.
Have you ever heard of? Oh heck, I forgot the name. But anyhow, Fairchild Republic furnished was building the space shuttle, and Rockwell International out in California got the contract, and so they distributed it to various other companies, one of which Fairchild got to build the space shuttle tail. Grumman got the contract for the wings, and I don't know who got the contract for the other part. So I worked at Fairchild on the tail. I'm not that is on the engineering end of it, not out in the shop. And then after the way the government operates, they got a contract for 5 space shuttles, but they weren't allowed to build one a year, which they did. That's the way it worked. And then I run into the problems of shipping it to the California and so on. And then, of course, I still was remained a reservist. Of course, before that, I was when I was in forecasting. At one time, see, this country was divided in half right after the war. And if you flew from the east to the west, you passed that line of aircraft identification zone.
Okay.
And so consequently, we had radar sites all over this country. So, and that was the they called the not Air Training Command, the I've forgotten the name of the command. It was the air. They got it. Not it wasn't the. I can't think of the command. Would you believe that?
That's okay. Was it air traffic?
No, not air traffic control. But let's see, who was, you remember the guy that flew the B-29?
Oh, you know, the only pilot that every kid learns about is Lindbergh, right? And that's not him. Who flew the that dropped the bombs over Hiroshima?
That's
Nagasaki?
right. Who dropped the bomb?
Come on, tell me. I don't remember either.
The cigar. He always smoked a cigar.
I can see his picture right in my brain.
Me too.
Okay.
He became the commander of the. I'm thinking Air Training Command, but it's not Air Training Command.
Okay.
It's regardless.
Right.
The cigar. We always used to call him the cigar. Then he later became a general and so on. Stuff.
And how many children did you have along the way? You spoke of 2 early on. Did you always have 2, or did you have any more?
No, I had most of the times the kids followed, or the family followed me, and because they'd get quarters on the base then. But no, I didn't have any more children. It was heck, it was enough that I had 3.
Oh, you did have 3. Okay, and
and a dog and a cat.
And a dog and a cat. Do you want to say your children's names? What did you name these wonderful children?
Sandra Kay was the first one. We celebrated my commissioning.
Yes.
And then Albert is the next one.
Yes.
And then the third one was James.
And James. What was James celebrating?
Jimmy. I don't know.
And do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, we have a biological. 2 grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Wonderful.
The great-grandchildren are trying to be ballet dancers.
Oh, lovely.
And they're very good.
Oh, wonderful.
And let's see what the other one, my son, he's he's got his wife, of course, and daughter, son.
Very nice.
In fact, see, my son, he works for the government.
Which one, Albert or James?
Albert.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Medicare.
Oh, very nice. So does he work down in Washington, D.C., or does he work in Connecticut?
Baltimore.
Baltimore, lovely.
You've never been down there.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about College Park with the University of Maryland.
Yeah.
That's where your
Well,
daughter-in-law is headed.
The Medicare has a hell of a big piece of real estate where they got a big, how can I say, not a hospital,
Like a
but
campus, a whole big complex.
the Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
No, I haven't seen it, but maybe I'll stop in, get off the exit, and look next time I drive down. Wonderful. Well, is there anything else you'd like to include on with our interview? This has been wonderful. I've enjoyed every
Oh, you
minute.
haven't learned anything.
Oh, are you kidding me? I learned about how brave you are.
Oh, brave.
Yes, you are. And
Well-
how you kept working no matter what. And you kept those. When was your last flight? You talked about keeping up your flight hours and your training. When was the last time you
When I
were
got
in
married,
charge? When you got married?
I told my wife I was, see, my first wife died. She was a smoker. And, well, it was very fashionable in those days.
Yes, it was. You're right.
And she got lung cancer and passed on. Then my second wife, she was a model up in New York. And I said, how, I belonged to at one time while I was working in Towson at Bendix, they had a pilot club, and so it belonged to it, and that way you periodically, you reserve the certain times that you could fly the plane.
Right.
And this one day we were going up to Montreal. So I called my wife. I said, or rather, she wasn't my wife then, but I said, how would you like to go up to Montreal? So we went, fine. She lived in Connecticut. So we supposedly went to pick her up at Syracuse, I think it was. Well, regardless. But the weather got bad. So called, tell her, I said, can't do it. So anyhow, I picked her up at another airport, and we flew to Montreal. And of course then we come back. That was the last time I flew.
Ah,
A little puddle jumper,
little puddle jumper. Lovely. Oh,
not the 4-engine.
no, no.
No, I was always partial to the 4 engines because multi-engine. Because with a single engine, you should be aware and should know where you're going to land that thing if you have problems.
Right, with all your eggs in one basket.
But I don't think people think of that. Because I see these accidents that happen. A light plane crashed. Why? Ran out of fuel. That's no good. And why to run out of fuel? Because he wasn't thinking. And then some of them may be the engine, problem with the engine. So, okay, what do? They don't know where to land. Oh, anyhow, they have problems.
Right.
Just brings up the story of this one when I was stationed down at Montana. One of the men working for me, it was radar. We were all on radar at that time. And he would pick up a plane and fly it any time anybody asked him, which he did. But then one day, the colonel come into my office, and he threw papers on my desk, and he says, the FAA has got a lot of restrictions here. And so he said, not restrictions, criticism. So I said, I want you to analyze it, have the report on my desk next day. So, okay. I said, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going up to Alaska. He says, what are you doing? So anyhow, I looked and so I checked it out. And this individual, he was what we used to call scope dope. In other words, he would watch TV and analyze the TV, the airplanes coming in. So I found out he did everything he was supposed to do, the only bit, and except one thing. He took off from an airport and run out of fuel. And it was a single engine he was flying. And he happened to land at an armory. I guess an armory up in Minneapolis. So yeah, no problem. He didn't crash or anything like that. He just ran out of fuel. So he got fuel, took off and landed at the proper spot. Now, the story was, what he should have done when he made his first landing, that's when he should have made a new flight plan.
Right.
And he would have then, of course, had to put down there for the fuel, but he didn't. So what do? Now, see, I had to, supposedly, at the end of my report, I recommended disciplinary action. Oh, heck. Here this guy's been flying. The government's put a lot of money into him. So I said, company punishment, but don't ground him, because they would have done that. So this is what happened. So then a couple of years later, guy walked in, called me, says, "You know what happened to Bernie?" I said, "Bernie, who?" And then he gave me the name. I said, "Oh, no." I said, "What happened to him?" He said, "He won the Medal of Honor."
Oh my goodness!
So it happened that after this situation, condition, he went to Vietnam, and a plane got forced down the back of the lines, and he took a plane off and went over and picked him up.
Wow!
He got the Medal of Honor for it.
Holy cow!
So just think back now. Suppose I'd recommended grounding that guy.
Right. Right. And he learned his lesson from you, probably, and never flew a plane without fuel enough.
I don't even think he knows. He even knew.
Oh my goodness!
That see, our outfit I was in Montana, we had radar sites all over, up to Montana and Dakotas and so on. And periodically, as they come, I'd have to visit all these radar sites to make sure that they were doing their job and all that stuff. And also Montana, see, Cut Bank, you know where Cut Bank is?
No.
Cut Bank, Montana. A lot of people don't know it. They were radar sites. You have to land on a little dirt strip. And what can I tell you? Then, of course, they said they assigned me to Alaska.
Wow, that must have been beautiful.
So I took my wife. I said, "We're driving up to Alaska. We're not flying." So this was in January.
Oh my goodness.
Snow up to your hips.
Yes.
So anyhow, it took us 7 days to get to Anchorage. So when I walked in, it was in the evening. I walked in, the guy says, "Where the hell have you been?" I said, "What do you mean? I'm not supposed to be here till midnight tonight."
Right.
So he says, "The guy down in Middleton Island, there's no officer in charge, the sergeant. So we want you to get your ass down there." So okay, I got my wife in an apartment, said bye, and went down to Middleton Island. You've never heard of it. Nobody has. It's an island south of Anchorage, 170 miles.
Wow.
3 miles wide, 5 miles long.
Oh, just a speck. Oh my goodness.
See, this was,
What was the mission of
this
the
was
island?
remote tour.
Mm-hmm.
And remote tour only run for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it.
That was it. What was your mission on that little tiny island? Were you
Commander.
and was the island a listening post for
No, it was a, actually it was a radar site.
a radar site too?
And then in addition to that, the FAA had I guess transmitter or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his family there. That was all.
Wow.
That's right. And so consequently, you had to, what do you do? I was the Lord and Master of all I surveyed. Well,
That's right. All 15 square miles.
that's correct.
Nice.
So it stayed for a while. And then, of course, as the command works, now there's another island right off of Anchorage called Fire Island. And so they wanted somebody up there. So they transferred me up there. I didn't want to go up there. He says, well, you're the only one that can do it. I said, oh, you give me this stuff. So that's what they did. And I was up there until finally, at the end of the tour, back to Decatur, Alabama, or rather Decatur, Maxwell Field.
Wow.
No, the government works in peculiar ways,
Yes.
but also there's a hell of a lot of politics involved.
Really?
Oh, heck. People don't know this. If you know the right people, you can get a lot done. You probably know that. You've seen examples of this, and it's going down in the records now.
Well, you said it very eloquently, so don't be worried. At 99 years old, you can say anything you want.
Yeah, but you got it on record there. The government doesn't like that stuff. You see it every day. You hear about it. Look about. Don't forget our past presidents.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Well, today's been amazing. Is there anything else that we should include? Talked about your travels, your missions, your
I don't know.
military service. When you retired, what was your rank?
When I retired, I was lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant colonel.
When, of course, while you're in, captain, major,
Right.
you had to go the route.
Go the route. Go right up from butter bar all the way up.
That's correct. So, and however, I will say one thing, and this will probably be in the record. The Navy is the only organization, rather, that I run into that has respect for retired ranks. In other words, when I say rank, retired people with a little rank. The Air Force and the Army. I'm only based on that what I received, because after I retired, we used to use travel space available,
Yes.
and the Army, the Navy, or rather the Marines were, but the Air Force, no, they weren't that respectful or considerate. But the Navy is.
Wow, that's great to know.
Why is that?
I don't know. All branches of military are so steeped in history. I would think that they all would have a deep respect and understanding for the sacrifices. Somebody who gave a lifelong commitment to the military. Well, this Army veteran greatly respects you and thanks you for everything you've done for our country.
As a small example, at one of the bases we on a space available, we happened to land. It had to be a Navy base. And my wife and I stepped out, and he says, "Are you Colonel Hintenach?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We got your staff car here." I didn't order a staff car. And here I am, retired, see.
Right. Wow.
None of the others would do this.
No.
No way. So, it's as I say, it's quite interesting what you run into. Over in Hawaii, talking to one of the master, and he was the master sergeant. I was talking to him, and he was very incommunicado or uncooperative and so on. While I was talking to him, he turned away from him and walked away. I got to thinking, what I should have done is called him back, and either that or reported him to his superior.
Right.
He's still on. He was due to retire. No, it's not right.
No.
But that's the way it is.
Well, there's always going to be a few bad apples.
Oh yes, you're running into that,
right?
Of course.
So.
If you have, the rank does have a certain amount of, what shall I say? It gets a certain amount of respect. In Puerto Rico, I never run into problems. Here's a smaller example. Puerto Rico is a good example. See, after my wife and I retired, we used to go to Puerto Rico every year, and we'd stay at one of the towns there because we had the Navy base was right down the road from us. So there's still a military base, Fort Buchanan, right outside of San Juan, and so this friend of mine is a full bird, but he's retired, and so we happened to be going over to Fort Buchanan to do some shopping. So initially you stop at the security section, and the security officer, security guy, he wanted to see my friend's ID, everything, almost to the birth certificate. Finally, he cleared him, went through. And so, didn't give him a salute or anything like that. So, my friend got mad, very angry. He said, "I won't stop at the security, please." He stopped at the security, and the head of the security was a female major. And so he told her, and he says, he raised hell about it. So you better look at this again. The guy didn't even salute me. See, an order, not an order, but a policy came down from the chief staff or somewhere up there that all retired officers will be saluted as they enter. That was one part of the consideration. So this guy didn't. I had to laugh at that immediately because, big deal. So he didn't salute. So what? But the Navy usually considers us. Yep.
Yeah.
Now they've closed that base.
Oh.
I can't understand it. One of the biggest bases in area. You ever been there?
No, I have yet to go to Puerto Rico. It's on my list of things to do.
And they have a reservoir for water and so on, and gosh, everything they can be self-survived. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, including that our government had a place reserved for the King and Queen of England if Germany happened to have invaded them.
Really?
Oh yes, and it's nice down there, but they closed it. because see, they right across from the from Puerto Rico, right across the island from the island, there's another island called Vieques,
Right.
and that's a kind of a bombing range,
Right.
and they were using for exercises.
Yes.
And somebody on Vieques, he got shot or died or something.
Oh.
So consequently, the populace said, "Oh God, we can't." And yet they had moved in around him, around the base. So they wanted the admiral to stop the training.
I remember that in the news.
So I said, "Well, if I stop the training, there's no reason to have the base here." So he closed the base, put about 1 million people out of work, and they had just gone ahead and upgraded the commissary and the BX, and put not cell phones, what do you call these, electrical cells
Yeah, the cell towers and the
on
internet.
on the roof to heat the water and so on for the troops. And here he closed it. Doesn't make sense.
Getting back to that part about politics.
Right.
Who knows who?
So anyhow, that's about it.
Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really, thank you, Albert.